Welcome in. I'm your host, Danielle Alvari, and this is Bet the W, the show where we bet on the WNBA and look for W's wherever we can find them. Calvin Wetzel is a walking W and is back to co-host as well. Very appreciative of him. And today we're going to recap the weekend that we saw in the WNBA. It was actually at a game, which was very fun. And even though we've only seen 3 or 4 games from most of these teams, we already have some takeaways and maybe some strategies that we'll be implementing based on what we have seen so far. And then, of course, we will get into all of the Tuesday action. We have 4 games on Tuesday to break down and look at our bets. Also, we are officially available in podcast form. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts. So if you like Bet the W, follow it, rate it, have fun with it, because we're having a lot of fun with it, and we hope you are too. To keep up with it all, you can follow Bet the W Show on Twitter. As always, let's welcome in Calvin Wetzel. You know him, you love him. He does women's basketball, covers it for Sportsline and her Hoop Stats, and of course, gives out his bets on Spread the Floor. So you can follow all those accounts as well. Calvin, how was your weekend?
Weekend was great. So much good WNBA action, so much good betting, but probably not as good as your weekend because I know you were in New York at one of the games.
Yeah, I know. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm just going to a different WNBA game in a different state every week, it seems like. We were just talking before we jumped on. I was like, maybe I can make it to an Aces game this week, but no, they're on the road for a while. But yes, I was in New York, got to see my first New York Liberty game, first time to Barclays, was very impressed. And just shout out to Dano Mattia, who we've also have on this show, is a great guest, great handicapper, and lent me his tickets. So that was huge. And it was funny because the people who sit next to him were like, where's Dano? And they were like, oh, is he watching the game? And lo and behold, if you look on Twitter, Dano is literally watching the game, even though he's in a different country. So the real fans know. And yes, it was an incredible experience. And also what I have to say, have you seen these on the broadcast before? Ellie, is that the name of the mascot for the New York Liberty?
I believe it is. Yep.
Needs a raise. Unbelievable. And it was funny because they sent a survey after and were like, how was your experience at the game? And a lot of the questions were about the mascot. And I was like, 10, give this elephant a raise. It was unbelievable. So if you have not made it out to a New York Liberty game, you are missing out, if only just to see this elephant perform, I swear. But no, the game is what we're going to get into right now. I want to do some quick takeaways from what we've seen over the weekend. The Liberty battling back to beat the Sun. And I have to say, I wasn't confident in that bet. We were texting. I said, tell me to go in on this Liberty team. I want some action. And you were kind of like, oh, wait, some plus money. And I said, okay. I was trying to be really patient. Then we saw a plus 100 money line pop up, dove in on that. And more so on the idea that I thought this is a good Liberty team. I think they'll figure it out in the second half. And also they're at home. But the Sun were doing everything right in that first half.
Yeah, well, I think you hit it at the exact right time. 'Cause if I remember correctly, when you hit plus 100 is right when the Liberty turned around, and they really just exerted their will in the second half, shut down, put the clamps on defense. Shots started going in. It's the Liberty team that we all kind of expected coming into the year. So, in the Sun, that's a good Sun team. It's not the same as what the Liberty doing that to the Fever the game before. Like, this is maybe the third best team in the league right now behind the 2 super teams. So. It was exciting to see, the Liberty kind of pull away there and really see what they could do. But especially as both of us who were on the Liberty, you got them at plus money live. I was on minus 5.5 from pregame. So that worked out too. Looked iffy for a while, but yeah, that was just a fun game. Betting and betting aside, honestly, just a really fun basketball game too.
Yeah, it was. It was really enjoyable. But also to your point about the Sun, I know that some people took the Sun plus 7.5. I think Dano was one of those people, and I like what he said. He said, we're not giving them enough respect, which we're not. I mean, I have 4 or 5 losses to start the season that are proof of that because I was in on the Mystics so hard. And then the Sun came out and showed us what they could do. That said, I do think because of the crazy turnaround that happened in that second half, the Liberty kind of started to figure it out. Like you said, they created better shots. They shut down that Sun up. Can we talk about Alyssa Thomas? She scored 5 points, and they were all at the free throw line. No field goals.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, for someone who might be in the MVP conversation with Asia and Stewie, and the numbers she put up in the first, exactly. I mean, the numbers she put up in the first 3.5 games, and then come out and do that. I mean, this Liberty, when you see, and Jonquil Jones is still on a minutes restriction. That's kind of the scary part, in their front court.
I didn't even realize.
She hasn't played. I don't know what she played in this game. She hasn't really played anywhere close to, I think, her full minutes yet. So when we see that, it'll only be that much more scary, especially in the front court for this defense.
Yeah, I agree. And my point just was by the end of the game, they had nearly, and by they I mean the New York Liberty, double the points in the paint, 10 more points off fast breaks than the Sun, who had 1. They outboarded them. They just pretty much cleaned up in every category. So I like that you said the Sun are 3 because I think they proved that to us even versus the Mystics. I think that downgrades the Mystics to the 4 spot for me. But I think that it's obvious that there is a gap still, a substantial gap between 2 and 3. Yeah?
Yes, this is the game to me that said, like, some people when the Liberty lost the first game to the Mystics were starting to think like, all right, maybe there's, I'll talk about the 2 super teams and maybe someone else can kind of compete. This is the game to me where Liberty said, like, no, there's still a gap. There's 2 super teams and there's everyone else. So let's stop talking about anyone else being in that top tier. There's one top tier, and anyone else, Sun, Mystics, whoever, is at best 3rd.
Yeah, I completely agree. The one thing I will say that I like that the Sun are doing is they're sort of scoring by committee. They had 3 in double digits, 7 players contributing points. So I do think that that's going to help you in the long run when you have a lot of people contributing to the offense. So hopefully that serves them well.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And bringing in Tiffany Hayes, obviously this year, helped with that a lot. And Dewana Bonner has really stepped up her scoring from, what is she, 37 by now? Or, she will be in a few months, I think.
Right.
And she stepped up her scoring from a year ago, which has been impressive. And of course, Alyssa Thomas running the show. Bree Jones in the starting lineup has been just so consistent for them, and getting 10 to 15 points a game. So they can get points from a lot of different places, which I think we all kind of knew the Sun defense was going to be there, but you're right. The offense has probably been what's impressed me the most compared to what I was expecting.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that we were worried about that with the departure of Kurt Miller, who I think has done good things for the Sparks so far. More on that in a moment. But I think that it's impressive what the Sun have been able to retain. And I also have a question about the Liberty. Were you one of the people like the New York Liberty fans who wanted to see more Honshu? Because we finally got it on AAPI night. The crowd was going nuts, chanting for her to go in, and Sandy Brondello obliged us and sends her in. We finally get a bucket, and the crowd went nuts. It was the loudest part of the entire game. So that was a lot of fun, and I think we need to see more from Han.
Yeah, give me more Honshu. Listen, don't wait till garbage time. Like, who cares? Put her in the second quarter. Put her in a close game. Why not go big? Stewie at the 3, JJ at the 4, Han at the 5. Mess huge. Around. Yeah, dude, have fun. I mean, Honshu is one of the funnest players in the league, and I don't think you can get too much of Honshu, too many minutes.
I agree. My other note for the weekend, the Aces have been covering these huge spreads. 3 of their last 4. The one they didn't cover was one of the games versus the Sparks, I believe the home game. And then the following game, I believe the spread was around the same number, despite the fact that the Sparks were missing so many people either due to injury or illness. What do you think about what the Aces have been doing so far? Because I don't like laying double-digit spreads in general, but the Aces have been covering these.
Yeah, I think you got to take them until further notice, as big as those spreads are. And the one you mentioned that they did cover the opening line. The line moved so much that by the time it closed, they didn't cover.
Good to know.
So if you're able to get Aces openers, you've been 4-0, and I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. I mean, especially when you look at this team, they got some veterans, Candace Parker, Chelsea Gray. They don't have a lot of depth, and still they were able to run away. Granted, the Lynx haven't been very good, but last night, Sunday night, they were able to run away from a Lynx team on a back-to-back after playing 24 hours earlier. Which, when you talk about a team that's got veterans and lack of depth, usually a back-to-back is where you start to see, maybe they come out a little bit flat, maybe they kind of chill out a little bit, but the Aces just exerted their will, for 40 minutes in that game as well. I can't wait till we have to wait a while to see them play the Liberty, but the way that they're playing right now, I don't know who else other than the Liberty is going to be able to beat them barring injury or some sort of crazy shooting variance night.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm glad you brought up the shooting, obviously. And also that we're only 4 games in here. Some of these teams have played 4. Some of these teams have played 3 games. So it's hard for us to look at these stats. Actually, the Seattle Storm have only played 2 games so far. But the Aces effective field goal percentage average 57%, 7% higher than the Liberty, who are in second. So this is it's lethal. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know what their margin is. I don't have the stats in front of me, but it's way ahead of anyone else in the league right now, their average margin of victory. And that's even with that single-digit win that we talked about against the Sparks as part of that. That's still the case. So what they're doing is incredible. And as of this moment, I got on this podcast, talked about how I think the Liberty are going to win the championship, and I still think so. But as of this moment, I think the Liberty have a higher ceiling once JJ gets going, once they start clicking. As of this moment, though, the Aces are the best team. in the league right now.
Yeah, and the last season that was true as we started the season, but we were more in a position that we were in, I think, with the Liberty, where we had to see it get put together, right? We were seeing Becky Hammon for the first time with this team. We weren't really sure what we were going to see. Now they're in their bag. They won the championship. There's not really like they're having a slow start to the season where we're like, oh, let's see if they gel. Like, they're already on it. They added Candace Parker and they're off to the races. So yeah, I can't bet against the Aces. The other note I wanted to make here was they've been having these 170 totals, right? Which you know, I love unders and those scare the dickens out of me. But these 170 totals have been pretty routine for this team, even against the Storm in their opener, which is a game they blew out the Storm. I think the score was 105-64. That was 167.5. So their totals are up towards that 170 mark. The other ones have been 170.5 or higher. And I don't understand it necessarily against certain teams, right? So for example, versus the Lynx, 170.5. Same total as the two games before versus the Sparks. The Sparks play a lot faster and score a lot better than the Lynx do, and yet we have the same total. So I just wanted to point it out because I thought those possible opportunities for going in on some aces unders, because I got an aces under versus the Lynx on Sunday, and I just thought, why are these totals so high against teams that can't necessarily keep up with them scoring wise?
Yeah, I agree with you. I hit that under on Sunday as well, pregame, and then I doubled down live halftime, because the thing about the aces is, if they're playing anyone other than one of those very top teams in the league who can compete with them, we're talking about how much they blow everyone out. When you get into an Aces blowout in the fourth quarter, the game totally changes, because you bring in the Aces bench, who looks nothing like their starters. The other team's bench comes in, and you get this garbage time where no one can score any points. And so that often ends up hitting the pregame under and a live halftime under. Maybe the best is probably the live under right at the start of the fourth quarter, or if you're watching the game, whenever Becky first benches all the starters, that's when you hit it. But whenever you get it, these unders have been hitting. And against the Sparks too, the game before the Lynx, that one didn't even hit 160, the final total, and that pregame line was also in the 170s. So
Sparks are missing everybody.
Yeah, they had NECA and about nobody on that team. So I'm with you on some aces unders, especially in these games where their spreads are getting into the mid-teens and you're going to see garbage time at the end. Pre-game live, however you can get it.
Yeah, strategically, of course. Like there are teams, the Sparks in that first matchup against them were scoring a lot and they play fast. So yeah, give me an over. But there's just weird situations happening here where it's like, well, the Aces can score 105 points on their own versus the Storm. And so yeah, that over hit, but just barely. And it was really just because the Aces took off in that opener. So outside of that, those 170s, just be cautious, be aware. Fever got their first win. I didn't realize they had 20-game losing streak dating back to last season, because they lost their last 18 games last year and then lost the first 2 this year, which tied the Tulsa Shock for the most consecutive losses of all time. Not the record you want to be breaking here. But they ended the streak on Sunday. They beat the Atlanta Dream 90-87. I had the over in this game. It was beautiful. What did you think?
Yeah, this is a really good over game. I was impressed with the Fever, but at the same time, this, I don't want to take any credit away from the Fever. It's really cool to see them get that win and some of those young players start to show up.
I know you're going with this.
The way Nalissa Smith played, phenomenal. That being said, this to me, from a betting perspective, is more about fading the Atlanta Dream going forward than it is maybe betting on the Indiana Fever. The Atlanta Dream have not looked good. And even before this game, I didn't think they looked very good, outside of maybe a late run in the Lynx game, where they came back and won that game, which the Lynx also haven't looked very good. But
so what does that say?
That maybe doesn't mean as much as you think at the time. In the Dream, I mean, for them to lose to the team that has tied for the longest losing streak in the history of the league at home in this game, when a lot of people were talking about the Dream taking the next step this year, maybe being a 4 or 5 seed after knocking on the door of the playoffs last year, this is another team that I am probably going to be looking to fade for the foreseeable future.
All right, it's a good note. So maybe not so high on the Fever, but a little fade of the Dream. Nevertheless, good for the Fever. Good. And I love when they play each other, because it's called the Fever Dream game. Fever Dream. And also, Nalissa Smith, you said that, 23 points, 13 rebounds. The person you would look at for props moving forward?
Yes, definitely. Okay. Her lines for this game were 13.5 and 8.5. Smashed both of those. So
Ryan too. Ryan Howard's though on the Dream side, I think I saw was 14.5.
14.5. Terrible line.
What?
She got in the 20s.
What'd she get? 23?
23. I ended up being able to get a little alt line too for her to score 20 plus at plus 280 or plus 290, whatever it was. Just a little sprinkle on that. That's something, if they keep hanging those type of lines, that I would keep looking for as well, because she's jacking up shots. She's getting her volume in, so as long as
Yeah.
she's not ice cold, which can happen sometimes, but as long as she's not, she should be clearing 14.5 well over half the time.
I agree. Let's get into the Tuesday games. We have 4 of them, and the first one I'm going to look at is actually the Indiana Fever on the road at the Connecticut Sun. We already saw this game once so far. They played to open the season, and this went way under that opening total. That total was 161.5, and this game finished 30 points under that. The Sun won 70-61. They covered as 7.5-point favorites, and now I'm seeing 13. They're laying 13 here with a total of 161. So about the same total, but a huge jump in that spread, which is understandable perhaps based on what we've seen of the Sun recently. But I think that might be a touch too high. What do you think?
Yeah. You think the spread is too high? Sorry. Is that what you're saying?
No, the total.
Total. Sorry.
The
total. Yeah. No, I'm with you on the total. I think the total is a little bit too high. Just, like we saw last game. I don't know why we would necessarily expect anything different in terms of the scoring.
Right.
The Fever should have a really, really tough time putting the ball in the hoop against this defense. In the Sun, there's some teams you talk about, like the Aces, maybe even in a blowout, sometimes they go over because they just score 105 points on their own. It doesn't matter how many points the other team scores. They're going to hit the over on their own. I don't think the Sun are the type of team to do that. The Sun aren't the type of team who are going to run away in a blowout and hit the over. If the Sun win a blowout, it's going to be more of, I think, like a 90-70 type of game where it still stays under the 161.5, and they really exert their will on the defensive end more so. Their offense has been good, like we said, but I would definitely look for an under at this one. This one, that line has been moving down too, so we'll see where it is, by the time we wake up Tuesday and by the time this is released. Could be in the 150s.
What would you play it to?
I'd play anything in the 160s. I would probably think about that. I'd definitely play 159.5. Start to get iffy at 158.5, but
okay.
Definitely anything in the 160s.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm seeing 161. I love that. I'll go under that. And I think it's even up to like 159.5. Like you said, I could go under there. The Fever like to play fast. We know that. They turn over the ball a decent amount. They're coming off that win, so maybe they'll be a little bit too high. And the Connecticut Sun defense gave them so much trouble. They gave the Liberty trouble in that first half. So I think we see an under here. I like under 161 on this game. Anything else? Any players you would look at?
In terms of players,
Melissa Smith.
Yeah, I could look for a Melissa Smith over. I would probably look for a Kelsey Mitchell under. Kelsey Mitchell has these sort of predictable patterns over her career where when she's at home on a lot of rest, she goes off. And when she's on the road on a short travel day, she goes under her total. And they're on the road at Connecticut. They played 2 days ago. Prior to this game, only 1 day rest. So I would probably look at an under for Kelsey Mitchell. But next time they're at home on at least 3 days rest, pivot, take her over as well.
That's good to know. It's good knowledge. Let's move on to the next game then. Chicago Sky at the Atlanta Dream, another team we were just talking about. A team that I normally like to bet the over on, and I think I like it again here. The total sitting at 162. Has this moved, though? I thought I saw this total has moved already. Let's see.
I do think I saw 161 maybe, or 160.5. Has it been moving up? Is that what you see?
I thought it was moving down, which is not obviously ideal for what I was thinking here. I'm thinking an over. Really just, I mean, by the way, the Chicago Sky, best team against the spread so far.
4-0.
Right? They've
4-0.
covered, 4-0 against the spread, have won 3-1, right? They lost 1 game so far. Right? Yeah, they lost 1 game.
They did
and then
lose
the
1
Dream,
game. Yep.
Like you said, the Dream a little bit underperforming here to start the season, to say the least. If home court is worth 3 points, if we're saying that, like the traditional 3 points, and the Sky are the better team here, and they're getting 2.5. I like Sky plus 2.5, and I also like over 162. But if it's gonna move down, like maybe I'll be more patient on that total. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna stay away from the total for now and kind of monitor it, see where it moves, and see what the market does.
What makes you nervous?
But I mean, the Dream love to play really fast too, and not too. The Sky are not playing fast, but the Dream Fever obviously went way over. The Sky went way over the other day, but before that, the Sky had been sort of an unders team. Their defense has been surprisingly good. A big reason why they keep covering. So
second in defensive rating right now.
Yeah,
again,
in the
through
league.
4 games.
But small sample, but very impressive considering what they brought in, what James Wade has to work with. So I'm kind of scared of that total. I'm not sure I probably will end up staying away from it. We'll see. If it moves a lot, I might hit one side or the other, but I'm definitely with you on the spread. 2.5. I mean, Sky should be favored in this game. And I was a Sky doubter coming into the season. I
As
think
was
we've
I.
talked
We all
about
were.
it. Yeah, a lot of us were. We talked about it on this show. I thought they were going to be in the lottery. I was clearly wrong. Small sample, but I was clearly wrong. Sky are going to the playoffs. They're 4-0 against the spread. I'm finally ready to stop fading the Sky because I've lost all my money fading the Sky. And
It's me and the
instead,
Mystics
it's time to
backing them.
time to fade the dream. The Sky should be favored in this game. If you're getting anything plus money on the money line or plus points on the spread, I think you should take it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that the Sky last year performed well on the road. So I'm not shy to do that at all. Injury report, Rebecca Gardner out, Morgan Birch also out. That actually puts me off this over a little bit more. Also, you just being apprehensive about it in general is also making me nervous.
Yeah, well, those are some big losses in terms of that's basically, I mean, Morgan Birch was starting, and Rebecca Gardner is probably their best player off the bench when they're healthy. That being said, I mean, Alana Smith came in and played great the other day, starting at the 4. James Wade has kind of shown this ability to plug and play whoever he's got and play really well. So I'm not really concerned about those injuries, from a spread standpoint, like not to disrespect those players because they're great, but I would still take the plus 2.5 even without them on the court.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm still deciding on the total, but we both like the Sky with the points. I'm leaning over. We'll see. The Atlanta Dream, I think, also going to be very highly motivated coming off of that loss. I don't know. We say that sometimes. Oh, motivation is a factor. Yeah, but you still have to be able to actually execute and score. So we love a motivated team, and maybe they will be motivated coming off of a loss to the Fever. But like we said, the Sky have won 3 of their last 4, have covered 4 straight. We're going to keep that rolling if we're getting points with this team. I don't think the book's caught up to them yet.
No, they haven't. And, it took me a while to catch up to them too, but I'm hoping I can catch up a little bit quicker than the books at least.
This is what we talked about, though. Again, we're 4 games into the season, and we weren't sure what we were going to see with a lot of these teams. And so we're learning as we go. But things are going well so far, I think. I mean, yesterday really saved me, to be honest with you. I was very what was I? Leading into yesterday, I was 6-7 on my bets. Now we're up to 10-7. So shout out to the unders and overs. Is that something you've noticed, too? Because for me, spreads have not been going as well just to start the season, but the totals have been.
I've actually been the opposite. I've been doing better on spreads than totals.
Okay, so that's good for the people to know.
Maybe,
Calvin spread maybe hit my totals.
Exactly. Listen to Danielle on the totals. I have been hitting some live totals decently, but pregame totals, I don't know. I've been struggling with those, so we'll see. I might just have to take the over and just ride with you on the Sky Dream since you've been hitting the totals so well.
Oh, geez. Well, I did. Yeah, we'll see. That was more of a fever and a dream madness expectation, but yes, maybe we see it again here. And if it's going down to 161, maybe we get a 160. We go over that. Chicago Sky plus 2.5. We like that. And also Ryan Howard points prop. Pay attention to it. She's going to get her reps in. If it's 14.5 again, it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, that one. And another one to look out for quick is Courtney Williams assist prop. She's essentially playing point guard. Obviously, they're bringing Dana Evans in off the bench. But in terms of the starting lineup, Courtney Williams is essentially the point guard for this team, which she was not with the Sun. She was not with the Dream. This is the biggest facilitator role that she has had in her career. She's hit her assists over in every game so far. They hung 3.5 in the last game, which was a bad line. It was dumb. Should have been at least 4.5, probably 5.5. So if they hang 3.5 again, even if they hang 4.5, take the over on Courtney Williams' assist. She's running a lot of pick and rolls, dishing out, and that's a great prop.
I know Calvin loves the bet if you diss the books that hard. Stupid number. I feel disrespected by that number.
That Courtney Williams should be disrespected by that number.
She should be. That's good. See, I didn't even pay attention to that. I don't pay attention to props as closely, admittedly, but there's just certain ones where you're like, this person's doing everything. You go to look at it and you go, wow, they are not caught up to this. So nice one to point out. I think everybody is noticing, though, that the Minnesota Lynx very much struggle bus down there with the Seattle Storm. Haven't won a game yet, and they're at the Dallas Wings. They're on the road. The Wings are laying 5.5. I was trying to guess this number last night, and I put 4.5. And the total's at 167.5. I can't bet on the Lynx right now, and I also can't bet an over in a game that they're playing.
Yeah, I'm with you. This feels like an under to me. It feels like a pretty high total. This feels like a borderline aces level total. You're starting to get up into the 160s, and I just don't. Upper 160s, right. I don't see really too many matchups in the league that don't involve the aces in the court that should have a total in the upper 160s. So I'm feeling under here. And yeah, the Lynx you mentioned, they're 0-4. They're also 0-4 against the spread. They haven't covered in any of those games
Mm-hmm.
either. So, Dallas has been kind of hit or miss. But you can't.
Dealing with some injuries.
Yep, Tierra McCowan is questionable, so definitely monitor that one. If you see her ruled in, you might have a window to go grab -5.5 before the books move the line. If you see the injury report before they do, I would probably go hit it because I do think they should cover 5.5 with her. And the Lynx don't really have a good defensive inside presence since Sylvia Fowles retired, so I don't know if they'll be
Mm-hmm.
able to handle her. If she's out, this might be a decent line. I'd probably still lean towards the Wings just because, like I said, the Lynx are 0-4 against the spread, and I certainly can't bet on the Lynx until further notice. So it's either a stay away or the Wings. Probably will hit the Wings, but I'll probably wait for that injury report just to see
Mm-hmm.
if I can, get some more information before I hit the spread.
Yeah, I don't trust this Wings team enough right now, especially just based on how their offense is happening for me. It's not a lot of great ball movement, as it's more like Arike is going to get her shots up, which is why on Sunday I did bet a prop. I bet her over her points prop, which again was higher than I usually like to look, but 23.5 was the number. She scored 26. She's going to get her shots up. So just the way this offense is functioning and the fact that there's very little defense happening, I don't love betting on the Wings right now. It's impossible for me to bet on the Lynx. So lean Wings here if you had to pick a side, but I'd feel a lot better if this was more like 4.5, even though I'm sure they can cover this at home in
Yeah.
theory.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad you brought up Arike because in terms of props, I think Arike overs are looking pretty good right now from standpoint
Mm-hmm.
of, she's always been a high volume player, but now LT, under this new coaching staff, she's played I think 38 minutes, 39 minutes, and 36 minutes. So she's basically on the court for the whole game, getting up as many shots as she can. She's cashed over 23.5 in all three games. And by the way, DraftKings put out 18.5 the other day when every other book put out 23.5. So if you're going to play props, shop around because you might get a
Shop.
number that's wildly off. 18.5 was a smash.
And
Uh,
it's only been 4 games, so the books are figuring it out right now.
they are. Yeah. I took me a little bit to catch up to this volume that she's getting. And at first I hit her under 23.5, which was dumb. It was a mistake. You were on the right side of that one. I will not be
Arike
doing that
under.
anymore.
It's like an
Um,
aces under. I would hate
it,
it.
Yeah, well, except aces unders have been hitting, and Enrique
I know.
has been making me
I
pay.
know.
So I'm done with Enrique unders. I would actually take the over at this point, even if at 23.5. If we get anything close to what DraftKings hung, 18.5, even
Oh
19,
yeah.
20, 20, 21.5, go in on it.
Yeah, that's the way I would play this. That was the only one I had in the Wings Sky game just because there was some little bit of who's going to be playing and who's not issue going on. And I leaned one way or the other, but I didn't feel confident about it. I did feel confident Arike is going to get her shots up. So we love to see it. We'll have to lean Wings here just based on what we've seen from the Lynx so far this season. But my favorite bet is Arike probably over her points prop, depending on what the number is. And then under 167.5 for me.
Yep, I'm with you on both of those.
And to your point, also, the Lynx just played the Aces, right? That total was 170.5. Why? And now they're playing the Wings. The total's 167.5. The Wings offense is great. It's not as good as the Aces offense.
No, no. I mean, the only thing I can see here is that this game could be closer. So instead of garbage time at the end, you get some fouls
Right.
at the end, and the fouls could
Valid.
push you over the total. But I still think this is too high. I would probably have it in the lower 160s. So if you're getting mid or upper 160s, I would take it.
Okay. Last game, New York Liberty laying 14.5 at the lowly Seattle Storm, the rebuilding Seattle Storm. Total of 163.5. I love underbets in general, so of course I was looking for one here. But the Storm have gone over in their first 2 games, not by their own help in that first one, of course, versus the Aces where they scored 105. So versus the Aces, they scored 64, right? Versus the Wings, they actually covered by the hook. Were you on that with me as well? We were both on Wings plus 4.5 or minus four and a
Minus
half.
4.5. And the Wings
Yeah.
had a 17-point lead. We're feeling very safe, and they
I
blew
saw
it
the
for
cover
us.
chart.
Yeah, that one was a pretty tough one. So Wings couldn't guard him. I think the Liberty will guard him a little better, but this is a tough
Right.
total. Where are you at with this total?
I wanted to go under, but I saw these 2 overs, but then I thought they played the Aces who got them to that over. So let's throw that one out. And then when they played the Wings play such little defense, like you said, and they play really quickly. Jewell Loyd got up 30 in that one. Kia Nurse had 20. Ezzy had 15. I think, like you said, the Liberty are going to give them more trouble than that, especially on the defensive side. I think the Liberty can cover this number. I don't want to lay 14.5, but I'm going to lean under 163.5. This is the game that I don't have a bet that I love, that I'm super interested in.
I agree. This is probably my least favorite game in terms of I just think the lines are the best set in this game, but I would lean Liberty in under. Yes.
Versus the worst team.
Yeah, yes. It's tough. If you maybe pick a side on both, I'd pick Liberty and under, but I don't feel strongly about either of those. I might lean like Liberty first quarter, first half rather than full game. But then again, seen them had some slow starts like they did against the Sun the other day, so that one's kind of tough too. I might be looking at props on this one as well. Jewell Loyd's another one like Arike, who has been going over her line a lot. Like you said, she had 30 the other day. She's getting all the shots she can handle because the Storm are full of rookies and Jewell Loyd, essentially. They got a couple veterans with Kia Nurse, like you said, but Jewell Loyd is the number 1, 2, and 3 option on this team. So I would probably lean her over props again if you're getting something like what we have been getting, 21.5 or around there.
Brianna Stewart back home. Is there a factor there? Do you think we'll see something special from her? I think no, just because she's not going to want to beat up on this team too bad.
Yeah, I always have trouble knowing whether it could go one of two ways. You could go, she goes off on her old team, or it could go the emotions get in her head and she has an off night. What I really lean towards is probably just somewhere in the middle where neither. It's really the effect maybe balances each other out, and I don't know if we see anything one way or the other. So we'll have to see what her lines are on the props, but I may end up staying away from her props if the lines are about what she's averaging.
I agree, and also it just reminds me of like if you go through a breakup and then you go back and see the person and they're doing horribly, and it makes you feel horrible. So I just can't imagine that anything electric's going to happen necessarily for Brianna because I think she's going to be classier than that. So yeah, we have 4 good games here. I think I like the Sky Bet the best. I don't know why they're not favored in this game besides the fact that they're on the road and again dealing with some injuries, so maybe that's something to factor in here, but I think that's my favorite one.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's probably my bet of the day based on what we got on the board so far.
Okay, and before we wrap things up, your W of the week. What was your win of the week? Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, going to the New York Liberty game. Duh. I mean, it seems unfair. I have these I was realizing I'm doing this win of the week thing and mine are always really cool, and it didn't need to be. It could just be getting out of bed is a win. But yeah, I got to go to the New York Liberty game. That was sick. It was awesome. It was super fun. I had really good seats. So that was my win of the week.
All right. Well, I promise I will have a win of the week that doesn't involve betting at some point this summer on this show. Because I feel like I keep bringing up a betting one, and people probably think that's all, which is true. All I do is sit around and bet. They're not wrong.
All he does is win.
Most of the time. I lose sometimes. But my win of the week was a big win. FanDuel. Well, there's 2 wins because FanDuel hung first basket props, which is a win in and of itself.
Okay, this is a great one.
You know where I'm going, Danielle. You know how much I love these. And that's just a win to even get those bets, to even have them offered is a win because, number one, I love them. Number 2, the more options we get for women's basketball for the WNBA just signals the growth of the league and the growth of the space. It's moving forward. And so I think that's a huge win just for progress in general. And the cherry on top of this win of the week was that we won our first bet of first basket of the year with JJ, the game you were at, Jonquel Jones.
Yes.
Plus 800 to score the first basket. She did.
Even on a minutes restriction, it didn't scare you at all.
No, well, it's first basket. Who cares? All she needs to play is 30 seconds. Go score and then sit the rest of the game. We still cash, right? So,
what was that at? 8-1?
It was plus 800. I think it moved by the time I posted it on Twitter, so some people got it plus 500. That was still good.
Darn.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. And you guys don't understand. Calvin loves he handicaps these actively. So.
Yes, this is what people make fun of me or whatever, which is fine. I have a spreadsheet with all the jump ball data, and who scores first for every team and all this stuff. So love geeking out on it. That was a big win to get it back because we didn't have it for the first week. That was the first day we had it. Hopefully we keep getting it all season. And I'll keep going hard on it.
And by people, he means me because I do give him a hard time. But I'm more so just mean as we may or may not know, if you know about betting, if you don't, that it's very difficult to predict who's going to score the first basket, or more so in football, I think, to score the first touchdown. Very hard to predict. So they're fun props to bet. They're usually bet by people who want to do something that's fun, but Calvin actually handicaps them. So look forward to those this season. I'm excited. And thank you so much, as always, to Calvin Wetzel for being here. Hopefully we'll have him on again real soon. And as always, if you haven't yet, follow Bet the W Show on Twitter, and we'll see you back here for the next one.